What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the past week. This week, a bunch of great, interesting, maybe some controversial topics. And we're at less than 2 months left in the year, and we're at 87 RTRs. Last week, I messed up the subtitles a little bit, but the correct number, we have 87 RTRs released so far this year. I'm wondering if we're going to hit 100. Could be interesting. But if you enjoyed the Scale News Update, hit the like button and let's jump into this week's topics. But if you normally enjoy the Scale News Update, hit the like button and let's jump into this week's topics. First for this week, Proline released a IBeam conversion kit for the SCX-10-2 platform to convert it into an IBeam front suspension, which if you're not familiar with, it's a Ford style suspension. I believe it was mainly developed or used by, but it's got that long arm independent suspension that crosses in the center. It's been modified and made, crazier, beefier, longer travel versions in desert racing, pre-runner style trucks in the past. It's got its own quirks about it, but in general, it looks pretty cool. And this version from Proline, no different. It looks pretty sweet. Now, granted, it's for the older SCX-10-2 platform, but I think that's kind of a good call. That platform, probably a little bit better suited for this. The SCX-3, they went a little bit more scale, but it's got a lot higher center of gravity and a lot of portals under it. The SCX-10-2, old school, tried and true. With putting all this under there, it makes sense. The SCX-10-2 is still available in production. Deadbolt and is there another one still in production? I can't remember. The Deadbolt is definitely still available though. Regardless, this is a full conversion kit, trailing arm rear, IBeam front, dual front shock mounting. It looks super cool. It's gonna change your truck into a two-wheel drive, and a two-wheel drive solid axle truck not likely to perform super well. This is not gonna be a race truck. It's gonna be a scale looking race type truck, but it's gonna be cool for photos and video and driving around admiring that suspension. If you're interested in pre-ordering one of these, I put links to where you can do that in the description below, and that's where you'll find links to all of today's stories. Next, alongside that suspension system, Proline also released the Coyote Grande body, which out of nowhere, kind of interesting. This is the Coyote body, but now SUV'd. Kind of. It's got like the wrap up rear windows, which is a little atypical. Kind of reminds me of the Jurassic Park Ford Explorers that they had modified. Kind of cool, different style, gives you that SUV look if that's what you prefer. Another body option to mix it up a little bit. Last week, Cross RC teased this new release coming. This is the Emo X3, a tow truck. Regular cab, tow truck bed style. Pretty sweet overall. Tow trucks, if you're going to actually use it to tow trucks around, great. If you just like the style of it for the scale realism, cool as well. Off-road recovery is a big theme these days. But in general, I think that it's just some people are going to like tow trucks, and that's where this is going to fit. And it looks like they did a pretty good job at it. The Emo base underneath it's an okay base. It doesn't have the aftermarket or the strength and capability of a lot of the other options on the market, but it's a decent enough base to have a cool tow truck bed on the back. I haven't seen the final price announced for the Emo X3 yet. I believe that it's coming as a kit. Not sure if there's been an RTR announced. I'm not adding it to the list until we have final details on that info. I'm sure that this could be something many of you are interested in though, so as soon as I do see more information available, we'll touch back on it. For those of you that picked up the Redcat Coe hauler, RC Patina guy's got some option parts coming out for it as well. He made a couple of different bed tops for that rear deck area. He's got like a mirrored acrylic style. That would be definitely focused towards the lowrider crowd, which obviously Redcat is familiar with. If you're putting a scale truck on there, maybe the acrylic top isn't going to be exactly for you. He's got it for both the hauler and that optional rear trailer that they came out with. He also made like diamond plate style cargo access doors for the side, just for looks. They're not, I don't think it turns it into a functional cabinet at all, but gives you that cool style along the side of the bed. So if you're interested in either of those products or some of the other products that he's making for the COE, I put a link to his website in the description. This week is the last week for the 4 dice budget build-off. We spun the wheel for the last time last Wednesday. Didn't go my way. 8 weeks in a row. How is that possible? But you can see how that ended up on this week's finale, week 8. 4 dice budget build-off. Go check that out. You'll see that Wednesday morning. Next, we had a new release from a company called Radiomaster, and they released the MT12. Now, we've seen many radios from companies that maybe people aren't super familiar with. Radiomaster, kind of one of those. You've seen Radio Link, probably. They're a smaller manufacturer of radios that have got a little bit of momentum. But Radiomaster, they've made transmitters for air and things like that for quite some time. But now they're coming into the surface scene with this MT12. And the interesting part about this is the fact that it's based on an open source style radio. And specifically, it's called Edge TX. Out of the box, this is a 16 channel radio, and it's capable of expanding to 32 channels, which is a lot. It has 10 physical inputs, as they say. So buttons and toggles and switchable, expandable button modules as well. Like it comes with a 2 little toggle switches or an extra joystick that can go down on the base of the radio. And just a ton of programmability. This is more similar to how the air side of things has been operating for quite some time with like the OpenTX software. Super programmable, tons of channels, and there's just a lot that has been available on the air side that hasn't really moved to the ground side. Before, if you wanted anything like that, people would take and mod air radios to try and work in ground radio style form factors. And it's been something that I've talked about in the past, that it's like the ground side has not caught up to what the air side is doing. And this one's kind of starting to go that way. Now, I use very nice, expensive radios that I've had really good luck with for a really long time, but this radio is pretty interesting. The form factor that they chose is unmistakably a knockoff of the Futaba 4PX, 7PX, or 10PX line, all the way down to a lot of the finer details of it. Granted, it doesn't have the screen, size, quality, things like that, but you're not going to be mistaken of where they got their inspiration from. But they undoubtedly have added more features in other ways to it as well. It would be nice, of course, if they didn't knock off the style of the radio, but that's another discussion for a later point. When you go to purchase it, there's multiple options. The most important one, I would say, is that you can either get it with the ELRS module or a 4-in-1 module. The ELRS module is like the radio inside, the actual, broadcasting little radio chip inside of the radio. And it's got a high output, so it would work well for long range, things like that. Or you can select the 4-in-1. And if you go with the 4-in-1, it advertises that it'll work with like 70 other radio brand or protocols for radio frequency. So if you've got other popular radios, there's a whole list of ones that it shows that it's compatible with, then it says this will bind to those receivers. It's also a very inexpensive radio at $129. Can't imagine you're gonna get a ton of premium feels with the buttons and switches and things like that, but I haven't had one in my hand yet. This thing just has a lot of expansion, a lot of capability, and a lot of things that I wanted to see in a ground transmitter that I've seen be so popular in other areas of RC. If you'd like more information on this, or you'd like to pre-order one, I'll put a link in the description below. A while back, we've talked about that large-scale Primal RC Dodge Challenger, officially licensed Dodge Challenger. We saw some video of it running, driving around, but it had like the old school pan car style suspension where the knuckle just moved on a spring on the kingpin area. Well, it looks like that wasn't going to fly with a number of people in the community, and they've updated that suspension to a more reasonable, traditional suspension like you would see either in a real car or in just other RC cars. So it looks like that car is not going to come out with that previously shown suspension system, which was definitely questionable. And now you're going to get a chance to own it with a real suspension system inside. So if you're interested in that, or you previously were, but were maybe turned off by how rudimentary it looked, maybe go check that thing out again. Bitty Designs dropped a new series of bodies, not just for the Arma 1/7 scale that I always like to see, but also the smaller scales as well. And this is the Aries 1 body. Now, they said that this is going after all-out performance. It's designed to be one of the best GT bodies you can buy. Not just good looking, but one of the best performing GT bodies, which is a big claim, and the speedrun guys will undoubtedly test that out. So I think it looks fantastic though. Bitty Designs does such a good job at that. It's definitely kind of a mix of like McLaren and Hennessy and all that in this one style body, but it looks fantastic. If I was building a speedrun car today and I wanted to try out a body, this would be the one. No matter what scale on-road car you have, if you're looking for a go-fast body, go check out these new releases. And lastly, while browsing for news topics for this week, I've checked on Kapo's site again, and I see that they've got some new stickers available. And if you haven't been around the scale scene for a super long time, then you may have never seen this before. Kapo, back in the day, they had a kit that they released that on the inside of the box, it said Kapo Design effing everyone, because they didn't understand the translation of what they were putting in there. And I think that they forgot that they didn't remember the first time correctly, and now they're offering all of these stickers. And they obviously know that it's a curse word because they've X'd out a couple of the characters in the word before they showed them displayed on all kinds of things. The inside of a box again, on the outside of a box, on the back of a car. It's just interesting. They're either embracing the fact that they have no idea what they're doing, or didn't have any idea what they're doing, or they still don't have any idea what they're doing. It's hard to say. Ran across something else while looking for topics this week. Basically just another Chinese company knocking off a product and not even understanding how they were knocking it off. They were posting it up in Facebook groups today while I'm filming this, Monday. And they even have the knockoff part mounted upside down in the chassis, and their post was like, look at our new mount. Like they didn't know what it was. They didn't know how it was even supposed to be installed, but they did it, took a photo of it, and posted it up. The topic of knockoffs has come up many times. This channel is one of them. I've discussed it many times and shared my feelings on it. And, you know, if you support them, you're doing harm to the community or the industry that you supposedly should enjoy as a hobby or whatever it is. It's not a new thing in this industry or in the economy in general. Sometimes it's just a matter of education, not knowing that purchasing something is a knockoff, but sometimes that's not the issue, and sometimes people know and they still choose to do it. Sometimes it's just kind of shocking and wild to get the reminder of how little they even know what they're doing when they're copying and doing damage to the community that we all put a lot of time and effort and investment into. But these two little reminders today were an interesting discovery while I was doing my research for this show. So without building some sort of Fortnite level soapbox, I'll end it at that. Share your thoughts freely in the comments. If I get in there and get rowdy, I apologize to some of you, not all of you. No, I'm kidding. We're just really starting this week off combative. I hope you all have an excellent rest of the week, except whoever of you I argue with in the comments. Nothing personal. Hit the like button if you enjoy the show. Subscribe if you're not already. Hit the notification bell so you see the videos as soon as they get uploaded. With that, as always, thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next one. Okay, I was seriously just thinking about like leaving a black screen for a while, then coming in and then just doing a nice long rant at the end all about the knockoff stuff. I'm biting my tongue. I won't do it. But if you stayed around this long, thanks again. Bye.